If a stranger offers you a piece of candy, what do you say? No. Exactly. Because it has high sugar content and will make you fat. Well...
Food. We need it, we consume it, and we enjoy it. You probably indulge yourself in treats every now and then, just as I do. But not everyone seems to be on board with the concept of enjoying food.
What are you doing? You just had breakfast. Are you hungry again? You don't need olive oil. Use the spray. Better yet, just cook it in some water. Have some almonds instead. Much better.
Mom, I'm hungry. What's for dinner?
You're hungry? What do you mean you're hungry? I'm just gonna have a boiled egg and some almonds. You should have some too. We had lunch 4 hours ago. I'm just gonna put a few seeds on my salad. There we go. I'm going for a run tomorrow at 6. You should come with. Just a 4 kilometer.
You want cake? Too bad, it's too sweet. You're craving for some fries? Banned. Don't you dare eat any of that because quote-unquote, it's bad and it'll make you fat. Now, there's a lot of ultra-health conscious folks out there, but some of these people have gone above and beyond with being the food police. Shockingly enough, quite a good number of these people are mothers, the people who are supposed to feed you. Alright, I'm not sure what side of the internet you're on, but if you're decently familiar with some supermodels, then chances are you've stumbled upon this clip.
How are you? I'm feeling really weak. I have a couple of almonds. I have a couple of almonds. Chew them really well because your stomach is not... Okay, love you. Okay, I love you too, baby. Be safe.
There is Yolanda Hadid with her daughter Gigi Hadid. This is essentially the video that coined the term Almond Mom in the first place. They're essentially mothers who do not have a healthy relationship with food, all while dragging their kids into their ways as well. As one commenter put so eloquently, they essentially feel like the personification of an eating disorder, and if I may add, the pressure coming with the heroin chic beauty standard. They're not usually going to be outright with their little starvation or deprivation mechanics, no. Almond moms do tend to be a bit more subtle with it, by bringing you some sugar-free, everything identifiable free treats when your friends are having cupcakes in a party, despite you not having any allergies. They see you having the ittiest bittiest snack in existence in the afternoon and go, well, you'd be too full for dinner now.
Today, we are going to define what an almond mom is. And my name's Lauren, I'm a registered dietitian. I work with people who are recovering from years of dieting and or eating disorders / disordered eating. And an almond mom is not just a female, it's truly any person who really struggles with their own relationship with food and also puts their own struggles onto others. It could be anything from having a figure in your life who's always making you question your food choices. And questions could be like, are you sure you want to eat that? Do you really want to go back for seconds? Are you sure you're not just thirsty? How about you just wait it out so you don't ruin your next meal? Those are all comments that can cause you to question your own internal cues. And as a registered dietitian who works with people 12 and up, if there's anything I've learned, it's that when we start to question our own internal cues, that's when our relationship with food can become really wacky and hard.
I'd like to clarify that they're not the same as the health buffs. Health-conscious people just try to find better alternatives for their foods, while almond moms, let's just say the whole point is to not have an alternative at all. Any excuse to make it so that you won't eat this or that, they take it. Some fear-mongering article about a cake slice would probably turn them into a frenzy, thus leading the cake getting banned into your household. It's overkill because it is. Now, that clip earlier with Yolanda Hadid is pretty old. Almond moms have been a thing for ages now, influenced by beauty standards and diet culture, though we'll get to that later. I particularly remember learning the term almond mom a good few years ago. My initial line of thought was, oh, someone likes almonds a bit too much. My face proceeded to fall when I realized what they really were about. Because when you think about it, isn't this just straight up crazy? In my culture, and I'm pretty sure for most of you guys' culture as well, mothers generally are the ones who push their kids to eat plenty, sometimes even to the point of overfeeding, which is an issue in itself, but that's a discussion for another time. But surely, a lot of us see maternal figures as these people who would probably be the last to ever want to witness us starve. Almond moms are outliers. Imagine your favorite fat shamer auntie who picks on you for gaining a fourth of an inch on your waistline. Now imagine that auntie being your mother, and them being your mother plays no part in changing the way they comment on your body and your food choices. That's basically what these almond moms are about, and that's precisely why they terrify me shitless. I felt bad for a good number of people over their parents countless of times before. Some parents just couldn't give a damn, and some parents take an inch and proceed to yell for a mile. But the people I feel particularly baffled by are those who have grown up with an almond mom, thus scarring their perception of food all the way up to adulthood. I just find it inherently so twisted to warp someone's view of something so essential to survival. But of course, these moms aren't exactly aiming for a healthy lifestyle.
I feel like lately, we've just forgotten as a society with beauty standards and whatnot, that eating disorders aren't fucking cute. Being super thin has always been in. People are saying that it's coming back, it's trending more now. I don't think it ever went away, but I am noticing it more on social media. And as someone who recovered from an eating disorder, I just kind of wanted to remind y'all, not eating enough for prolonged periods of time has significant consequences on your health. The biggest one that I still see issues with to this day, and it's been 7 years, is your gut health. Absolutely destroyed. There are ways to improve it afterwards, but it will never be the same again. Digestion, discomfort, pain, bloating, yeah, you're gonna deal with that shit. Depression, anxiety, oh, those are all gonna skyrocket. Yep, your mental health is going to be at an all-time fucking low. I just remember being such an insufferable and angry person to be around. I mean, I was hungry all the fucking time. Brain fog, fatigue, oh yeah, you're gonna deal with that a lot. You may not notice now because I have a mane, but hair loss, my hair was coming out in clumps. I could pull it out in clumps. It was disgusting. Oh, your bone mineral density is going to absolutely decline. Your risk for osteoporosis at an early age, oh, that's going up. The amount of stress fractures I used to get all the time and injuries, I fractured my pubic bone at the age of 20. Your risk for heart disease, oh, that's also going up. Health aside, the amount of shit you're gonna miss out on, the life that you're just gonna say goodbye to, that's not worth it. There are 4 years of my life that I will never get back because I was too worried about food. The relationships I lost and missed out on because I couldn't be present for them because I was a shell of a human, never get that back. So yeah, maybe just remind yourself of that because a lot of people are forgetting.
For young women, diet culture is kind of inevitable. It just gets pushed to our faces so much without us even having to try. We know those infamous judgmental aunties because they're everywhere and will always have a say on how you look, giving unsolicited advice about your appearance. Worse, it's not even just the aunties anymore.
What are we eating? Looks like toast and avocado with chicken?
Yeah, I've really been craving some sourdough lately.
I can't believe you're eating bread. Did you at least do a hard workout today to put those carbs to good use?
I mean, I did work out, but I have carbs every day regardless.
You know that avocado is really high in calories, right?
It's a great source of fats, plus it's got fiber, and it goes a long way in helping me feel satisfied.
Did you know you can swap out the bread for bell pepper and you get a super low calorie sandwich?
No thanks.
Here, just try it. You'll be dropping weight in no time.
I'm okay actually, I'm not trying to lose weight.
What do you mean?
Fat loss is not a goal of mine.
But you're eating high protein.
Yes, to support my strength goals.
Tell you what, why don't you not comment on my food, please? Let me enjoy this.
I'm no stranger to that. I vividly recall being around 12 and a family of friends saying I was starting to get a bit pudgy. Mind you, I just happened to gain 3 pounds, barely putting me into the healthy weight baseline for my height and age. With that, I even remember getting recommendations to bathe with this or with that to supposedly get rid of my eczema. Family reunions are wild as hell. Unfortunately, I wouldn't even be wrong to think that a good chunk of you have had some similar experiences. From an early age, we are pushed to look a certain way, depending of course on whatever our culture's beauty standards are. For example, my country sees fair-skinned, youthful, and more defined features as the epitome of beauty. It is different from area to area, but generally, the common denominator is a slim body type. As for what kind of slim, even that depends. Some want skinny, while some want slim and curvy. But nonetheless, it will always still be slim. That's the baseline, and to an extent, it makes fair sense. We can't be okay with skeletal or obese because leaning too far to either of those have consequences to our health. There needs to be a baseline for us to follow so that we can remain mobile and pain-free. While still being beautiful, of course. You know how it is. But honestly, it's not even what poses an issue. Like I said just seconds ago, there's a particular classification of slim that each standard demands for. Whether that be an hourglass figure, a thigh gap, curves here and there in the ideal places, you name it. Being slim is achievable with varying difficulty depending on whatever lifestyle or condition you may have at the moment. But your body type, which there are several of, would be difficult to rework without smashing some major bones or going under the knife. This, from what I've observed, only worsened the whole craze with diet culture. So now, you have people trying to change their natural build, getting frustrated when dieting fails to do so. And for some of these women, their frustrations bubble up all the way to motherhood. So now, you get mothers putting their children through crazy lengths for what I honestly find to be a futile cause, projecting their own scarred body image onto the kids.
What is an almond mom, and do I have one? An almond mom is a term that's used to describe a mother who is frequently dieting and projecting her own bodily insecurities onto her daughter. It's a term that's come about recently as videos of Yolanda Hadid have resurfaced where she's talking about dieting and pretty clearly projecting some pretty bad ideas about food and dieting onto her daughters. And as a body image researcher, this is pretty consistent with what we tend to find, as what we see is that mothers and parents in general have a big impact on how their children view their own bodies, food, and dieting. This is why it's especially important that if you're somebody who has children, you do your best not to become an almond mom. If you struggle with your own body insecurities, it's important that you do the work to address it and not try to project that onto your children. Shocker, it's really bad for them.
I recall having this one online friend. She complained to me once about her mother's diet rituals. She and her mother have broader shoulders, which apparently creates the appearance of being bulkier, at least in her mother's eyes. They've both lost so much weight from the straight-up criminal diet plans they've been following. But the mom doesn't want to stop because she literally told her daughter that she still looks fat up there in the upper body. No amount of convincing could get her to accept their body type for what it is. No amount of coaxing from other family members could stop her from depriving her daughter of simple treats even just every now and then. Now, my friend lives far away from her and it's been well over 2 years since she last spoke to her mother. See, when you put aesthetics over you and your own kid's health, it's kind of difficult to feel bad for you. Full offense intended. Diet culture has unfortunately gotten so embedded in many women's minds that looking slim in some particular way has affected their self-perception, making them deem that it's somehow more important than being alive and happy. But as they say, beauty is pain. Who cares if your kid now has to go to therapy to undo the damage you've done?
I just saw a girl talking about her moments as a fat kid growing up in an almond.
If you're someone who feels like the fat child of an almond mom, I have a very important question for you. As an eating disorder specialist, I want to ask you, were you actually the fat child of an almond mom, or were you a completely normal-sized child who over time progressively gained weight because you were taught how to restrict and purge as a child, which inevitably led to you developing bulimia or binge eating disorder? I think it's probably the latter.
This is perhaps the most depressing part about almond moms and their ways. With their warped perception of food, classifying certain food as bad, with a very select few being good, it's pretty clear that they themselves have disordered eating patterns which they then pass on to their kids. And of course, the kids have no choice but to eat like this, especially if these are younger kids who have no means to earn money for some extra food. And when they do get extra food, there's the tendency to stuff themselves with it because who knows when's the next time they'll get a chance for this. God, I know that sounds terrible. And trust me, I'm aware of that. even in the cases wherein these kids are given 3 meals a day with snacks in between, and this is talking about the more lenient almond moms, you can expect none of those snacks to ever feel filling enough. There's no protein, hardly any caloric value to meet the standard everyday calorie intake of around 1,800 to 3,000, depending of course on your age, sex, height, weight, and lifestyle. And even for little kids, you can't skimp out on giving them filling foods because no shit. They need nutrients to grow. Plus, they burn plenty of calories already from playing and running around as any kid does. I feel like it should go without saying that as the parent, you genuinely cannot and should not deprive your kids of food. It never ends well. As the primary authority figure in your kid's life, especially in the earlier stages, you cannot exactly plant misconceptions of food painted in a negative light and expect that to not bleed through your children's eating habits later on. They will see food as something to fear. They will, more likely than not, develop an eating disorder, as such disorders usually trigger due to experiences from childhood. And mind you, in the US alone, there are plenty of adults and children currently suffering and expected to get diagnosed with an ED in their lifetime. With the rise of the Almond Mom's popularity online, we naturally got glimpses of other people's experiences of what it's like to live with an almond mom and how that affected them in the long run. And let me tell you this, it is not all almonds and smiles.
If you grew up with an almond mom, here are some ways it might still be impacting your eating today as an adult. You might be hiding food from others or be eating in secret because you're used to being shamed or judged for what you eat. Maybe even now that you're an adult, there's still this critical and judgmental voice inside your brain that doubts you and shames you anytime you have something indulgent. Maybe you use emotional eating or binge eating as a way to cope with stress, overwhelm, or just negative emotions because you learned how to do that as a kid. Maybe you're really resentful and negative about your body image or your physical appearance because you're used to being criticized when you were growing up. If any of these sound like you, it's still possible to heal your relationship with food and body image today as an adult, and you're in the right place to do so.
Story time.
Our almond mom cut us off because we finally lost weight.
For those of you who aren't aware, our mom bullied us about our appearance our entire life. We developed a binge eating disorder and we became unrecognisable for 2 years.
During said time, she failed to acknowledge our rapid weight gain as an eating disorder, but rather as a form of self-validation.
So fast forward to losing 154 pounds, our mom then started to crash out. So the more our self-esteem improved, the nastier she became.
She would refuse to look us in the eye, dirty look us up and down, and would give us the silent treatment just for like putting on a new outfit or putting makeup on.
She made comments like, you look emaciated, you don't have any boobs, you're ugly and now you've lost weight. Said we were saggy. She would tell us that people like outside of our household would make comments about us.
And we'd ask who, and she would be like, I can't remember, but these people were apparently saying we looked awful.
Just bear in mind that she has actually told us time and time again to lose weight. Like,
this has been going on since we were children. Like,
yeah, very young.
It would be, you need to lose weight.
So we were kind of expecting a different outcome when we lost weight.
It's not that we did it for her validation, but when we did the very thing that we thought would stop all the criticism, it actually just got worse.
The maths check out. If you condition your kid to believe that eating cake once is, in the words of Yolanda herself, getting to be bad for one night, they're bound to not have a healthy relationship with food. Generally, you'd come to find that whatever you deprive someone of, that will be the thing that they obsess on later on. Take me, for example. I didn't have my own room for many years in my life. And once I got one, I became hyperfixated on my personal space for a while to the point that I just stay there all the time. Deprive a kid of toys and they'll spend a good chunk of their adult life healing that inner child, purchasing and probably even collecting these toys because they want to satisfy the kid within who never got to enjoy such things. Obviously, these are tame examples, but I think you see my point here. Naturally, if you deny your kid of the simple joys of just eating for sustenance and satisfaction, it will either go two ways. Either they get so used to the fear that they carry it and rehash the cycle with their own kids, and that is if they are still fertile after all the damage, or the fear has weighed them down enough that the second they get freedom, they go all out. They binge and binge, fearing that there will come a day that they end up in a similar situation as they have been with their almond mom. So either way, the kid doesn't win. Either way, they will have to seek therapy on their own accord, and it becomes their burden to bear. a rather awful consequence and byproduct of someone falling deep into the pit of diet culture and beauty standards, so much so that they think it's okay to push this onto children as well. Now, as difficult as it is, there are actually ways to slowly undo the damage an Almond Mom has done. Of course, it varies from person to person, what they need to heal, but hear me out when I say that we shouldn't ever become accustomed to labeling certain foods as bad. There is plenty of fear-mongering in the health sphere already. Now, I'm not saying that you should inhale 12 cupcakes daily, but don't get sucked into thinking that treat's bad, or that you should avoid a food item like it's the plague. I saw in this one video that good food should simply equate to food that is edible, not contaminated with something like, say for example, aflatoxins, and isn't stale or expired. Meanwhile, bad food is food that has already literally gone bad in the sense that it's now moldy, spoiled, or it tastes off.
Hi, let's discuss how I, a fat, help my kids have a better relationship with food than I obviously have. We do have good food and bad food. Good food is food that's safe to eat. Bad food is food that's rotten, spoiled, or you're allergic to. Yeah, that's bad. Don't eat that. Gwenna, that's just food safety, a great wad of used chewing gum. But in order to avoid assigning moral value to foods, we describe foods as good for our body. This helps make our bones strong or our strong muscles. It helps us see better. It makes good teeth. It's good, nutritious food that our body needs regularly. Then we have brain foods. These are foods that make our brain really happy when we eat them. They're maybe not the most nutritious foods, but it's okay to eat things that your brain likes. Things like candy, chips, comfort foods. The trick is finding foods that are both, like grapes. Excellent source of nutrition, vitamins, all sorts of things that our body needs, like sugars. Yes, your body needs sugar. The diet industry has convinced you that sugar is the devil. It's not. Our bodies literally need sugar, okay? Unless you hate grapes or are allergic to them, it's really good for your body. And it's sweet and it has a very satisfying crunch that I like, which makes it good for my brain. Now, will the grape ever taste as good as a piece of chocolate? To me, no, probably not. But I am deep in unwinding the damage diet culture has done. My kids see all three of these foods as good for different reasons. And this is just one small part of an overall conversation about what our bodies need, the fuel we choose to give our bodies, and what our bodies do with all the different types of fuel we can give it. Will this work for every family? No, but it works for us.
This mindset right here is important to embed into our heads early on. It's not made to make you think that you can go ahead and splurge on your second bucket of KFC for the day. It's made to recondition you into thinking that food is not the enemy. Food that sates you is food that does its basic job. See, when we obsess too much on labeling certain food items as trash, we forget the fact that a lot of them only become harmful when you go overboard with them. And frankly enough, everything is bad when in excess. So, while you shouldn't make chocolate chip cookies as your breakfast, you can always have them later as dessert. While you probably shouldn't eat a whole tub of ice cream in one sitting, feel free to have a good cup of it upon buying it. While eating up a whole package of family-sized chips might not be the best for your sodium levels, you can always take just a regular-sized bowl for your own portion, then actually share it with your friends or family. Maybe not your Almond Mom though, she'll definitely refuse. And that's assuming you're still in close proximity with her. What I'm trying to say is that we should never let anyone convince us into villainizing food. Be wary of ultra-processed items, but don't fret over a serving or two every now and then. We don't deserve to live in fear over something that we need every day to keep breathing. Moderation is key, and that applies to everything in life. And this is important. If you've ever had an Almond Mom and are suffering the aftermath, or if you're struggling with disordered eating habits in general, please get yourself some help and allow yourself that help. Inquire mental health professionals and dietitians near you to address your needs. And as a personal piece of advice, be wary of certain online spaces. I've personally encountered a good number of both low-key and high-key pro-Ana posts disguised as diet content in the likes of YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest in the past 2 years or so. So if you'll seek diet advice, please heed the words of actual professionals and not people online who, more often than not, perform some body checking at the start of their videos and eat less than 8,000 calories daily. These people need help too, and it's important that we, as a whole, limit our exposure from harmful content. Please keep this in mind and take care of yourself out there. Almond moms go against the grain in the worst way possible, as they seem far too content feeding their children literal grains for a meal. These ladies need to help themselves, and it's safe to say that our obsession with our bodies and looks have gone way too far for a very long time now. So the bottom line is, eating and enjoying eating is not and will never be wrong. You are not wrong for wanting to nourish yourself, and you're not wrong for craving something quote-unquote unhealthy every now and then, just as long as you're eating in regular portion sizes. At the end of the day, you are a human. A human who simply should be able to eat without worry. This is Current Champ once again reminding you to take care and eat well.
And I'ma just do me. A new thing hold me down on 2 feet. That's 10 toes, bust 4, 5, and 6 foes. Need 2.